Hi, I'm Melanie Barr. Welcome to the She Built It Experience with Melanie. You're here because you want to experience the life and business that you crave. Join me as I talk to women who have successfully built it, a career and business that they love. We dive into the topic of how they built it and talk about everything from having the courage to make career leaps to the details of how to lead effectively, create successful teams, implement strategies for growth, and infuse tech innovation. Magic happens when we focus on the part of ourselves and our business that brings us joy. So let's dive in. I'm thrilled to introduce and welcome Amy Stewart, founding partner at Business Litigation Firm Stewart Law Group. Amy is named one of America's top 100 personal injury attorneys and has been honored with numerous industry awards, including the 2020 Texas Minority Counsel Program Trailblazer of the Year. During the COVID-19 break, Amy made history, becoming one of the first trial attorneys to present a case to a jury over Zoom. What sets Amy apart from other lawyers are the skills that she has learned in the athletic world. She played college basketball at Wake Forest and coached Division I basketball at her alma mater and Tulane University before shifting her focus to winning in the courtroom. Amy's unique background helps her bring a competitive nature to her legal practice. I'm so thrilled to welcome you, Amy. Please tell us more about who you are and about your early career experiences leading to becoming the founding partner at Stewart Law Group.
Thanks, Melanie. I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to be on your podcast. I am originally from North Carolina. My dad was a drill sergeant in the Marines. I think that has a lot to do with the type of discipline that I have and how it led me to athletics. My passion was playing basketball. I hear people all the time, they say, I want to do something I'm passionate about. I was passionate about basketball, and I used that to get me into college at Wake Forest and was so connected with it. It so defined who I was that I coached basketball and was a consultant for the NCAA. And then even though I thought I was going to step aside from basketball and all the skills that I learned from being a student athlete and coach, it's funny how those things still have woven themselves into the practice of law, and skills like work ethic, teamwork, being able to compete gracefully but aggressively. The more I wanted to move away from being a student athlete, because some people have negative stereotypes about it, it's the one thing that really differentiates me in the marketplace. And the more I've leaned into exactly who I am, the more success that I've had as I've gone on and started the firm.
I was in college athletics as well. And wasn't it so helpful for staying on track in college? You surrounded yourself with friends, so you always had a group of friends with you. It really kept me on track and focused in college. And I'm so grateful for that experience.
Absolutely. The life of a student athlete is so regimented and so disciplined. Pat Summitt has a quote, discipline yourself so no one else has to. And it comes from being an athlete and waking up at 5 a.m. and doing your early morning workout, to getting breakfast and getting ready to go to class and having to compete with people in class, and then having your after school training and practice and 365 days a year. And it just ingrains in you this ability to focus and to get things done. A lot of times when you look at your schedule, you're like, there's no way I can get all this done. But I know that my experience as a student athlete and a coach has really trained me to just put my head down and get it done.
100%. What gave you the courage to launch and open Stewart Law Group and make that significant leap in your life and career?
When I started Stewart Law Group, I started it with a partner. Her name was Sarah Bradbury. Even though she's no longer with the firm, I always give her the respect and give her the credit for this, because it goes back to what I just said. As a student athlete, you're on the team and you have your head down and you're just working extremely hard, and it's for the team. And at one point she came to me and she said, you have enough business to start your own law firm. Well, to me, that would be like telling an athlete, you know what, you're so good, you can just start another team. And it just didn't connect. And then finally I looked at it and I talked to my husband. He's a former football player, but he's always been the best cheerleader in my life. Said, you should do this. And then again, that determination and focus and work ethic really just went into play again. And I put my head down created a firm that is based on the same skills I learned from being a student athlete.
Isn't it interesting how sometimes people come into our lives and they help give us the confidence to do things we might not have done on our own at that time?
I would have never started the firm without Sarah Bradbury. And I will tell that to anybody that ever asked me. I mean, if it wasn't for her telling me that I could do it, and people see me out in the Dallas community, they're like, Amy's so confident, but we all need support. And if it wasn't for her saying, hey, you know, you can do this, you and I, Melanie, you and I wouldn't have met.
We all need support and we all need that cheerleader at times. What do you enjoy the most about what you do now?
I love what I do. I love being a trial attorney, counseling my clients, building relationships with the clients so that our firm is a repeat business type firm. We get repeat business from our clients. I see myself as a servant leader. If I had to pick my one thing, is that I'm still a coach at heart. I love coaching young talent. And sometimes it's hard for them to hear because if you're coaching someone, that means you're giving them feedback. Lawyers or type A personalities that don't really like feedback. I have an associate this week. She drafted her first appellate brief. This weekend, we're going to do a virtual mock trial, and that's going to be her first effort in doing a virtual mock trial. And so I'm just giddy about the opportunities that I'm able to give her and to coach her through the process, because the business of law has kind of gotten away from training young lawyers to grow up. That's the business of law is not really set up like that anymore. But the way we build our firm and our culture of our firm is that we train the younger attorneys. So I think coaching probably is my most important thing that I love doing.
My husband is a former litigator, so I know it does take a certain personality, and I can appreciate your comment about receiving feedback.
Yeah.
But what wonderful luck that someone has to work with you as a coach in the practice of law, because not only do they get that passion and that drive that you have for being a trial attorney and that work that you do, but they also get the coaching and the mentorship. How has coaching influenced you as a business leader as it relates to running your own company? And how does that experience help your clients and your leadership style and assisted you in the courtroom?
The one thing I've learned about coaching is that sometimes the person that you're trying to coach and help doesn't really understand what you were trying to do until years later. Mm-hmm. I know I feel that way about every single coach that was in my life, that it would take years before I realized the impact that my high school coach, Coach Carter, had on me and how I still use some of the discipline he taught me to this day. In regard to running the firm, we talk game plans, we talk about strategy. I talk a lot about being transparent as a firm internally and externally, and a lot about communication. And all those things are things that I learned about from playing basketball and coaching basketball. If someone's out there on the court, I remember screaming all the time, you got to communicate, you got to communicate. It's the same thing at a legal office, especially during COVID. We've got to communicate even more these days because we can't just walk down to someone's office and say something. When I was a young baby attorney, watching partners manage the office and manage clients, they would talk to in-house counsel. For whatever reason, they lost their law license when they went in-house. And so what I actually like to do with my clients is partner and be a team with the internal legal counsel of my client so that we can solve it together. Just like, again, being on a team, working together, keeping them completely up to speed, and we make decisions together. And so I think that's the coaching has really helped me there. And also with the counseling. As a coach, you deliver good news. You got cut, or you're not going to start this game, and you get to deliver the great news. You are starting this game. You are making the team. I am very transparent in my communications with people at the firm and with our clients. And I think that just makes a better, easier relationship for long term.
It's great that you take that collective outlook to work together, because ultimately The goal is to win or to get the best outcome possible. And when I was 19, I moved to LA and my parents said, we'll support you emotionally, but if you call home for money once, you're moving home. And I did not understand it at the time, but now I'm so grateful. So I know that the people that you're coaching, because you can see from talking to you that you have their best interest and the overall best interest at heart, that they will be appreciative in the future. And I'm sure that that's hard to think about in the moment.
Yeah, in the moment, it's okay. I know you think I'm being hard on you, but it's training that I didn't get when I was a young attorney. We do immediate, constant feedback, meaning as soon as a task is done, you get feedback on that task so that you can improve, or I'm going in the right track with drafting this way. Whereas at the firms that I was at before, and they were all great firms, this is just how law firms do evaluations. I think it's part of, they don't like the conflict, is you could go 6 to 8 months never getting feedback. And then you walk into an evaluation and they're like, you know what? We really don't like how you do X, Y, and Z. And it's like, I did that 6 months ago. I continued to make that mistake. And now I've ingrained these mistakes. And when all you had to do was pull me to the side and say, you know what, when you start out a deposition, you should start out a deposition this way.
And that doesn't really help anyone not to give the feedback. So it's so great that you take that outlook and that approach. Is there a particular coaching moment, either from your athletic days or within your practice, that has stuck with you that you can share with us?
So in my athletic days, I'm never, ever going to forget about this. So when I coached college basketball at Tulane, I wasn't but like 2 or 3 years older than the seniors. And so I had that authority situation where I could be hanging out on Bourbon Street with these girls, but no, I am their coach. So there was a line, but we still were close because of age. We were in the Conference USA Championship, and the team that we were playing was running this play and under the basket, and they kept scoring. And I knew what they were doing. And the head coach, Lisa Stockton, was like, God, they keep scoring there. Does anybody know what they're doing? I am the baby coach on the bench. And I'm like, I know what they're doing. And she hands me the clipboard and I'm drawing out. And so I'm literally squatting with all the players around me. And I remember looking up, and all of them were looking down at me with pride. And I looked up at them like, oh my God, like this is like, I'm really doing this, right? So that's probably one of the most, and we shut that down. So, I mean, it was great. And so everybody's jumping when we stole the ball after I showed them the play they were running. Being a lawyer is probably early on doing a closing argument. It was during this time I talked about earlier that, and I think you and I talked about this when we talked earlier, that for years I was trying to be an old white man because that was who mentored me, and they were fabulous and great. But as soon as I stepped into who I am as a person, that is when I found all the success in the world. So I remember getting ready for this closing argument, and it was a case where all these things were happening, and I could just hear my grandmother, Mama May, talking to me. And when you would tell her something that was a little bit too hard for her to believe, she'd go, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so I incorporated that into my closing. I had my PowerPoint, and I introduced my grandma. And y'all probably have grandmas had this saying, when I try to put something over on her, she just look at me and she go, mm-hmm. And so then I went through the closing, and every time I clicked something that they had said during the case, and I just look at them and I go, mm-hmm. And Judge would tell you, girl, that was great. But I felt so vulnerable because I'm sharing with 12 people I've never met and probably will never see again, truly who I am, and wanting you to accept me for that. But when I got done with that, I don't even really remember it. But someone came up and they said, that was amazing. And I was just like, I think I can do this. I think this is my new passion. Basketball was my old passion. This is my new one.
Those are such great stories and an inspiration to listen to how you found that confidence and stepped into your power, because we all need to do that, because the world's going to respond to us at our best. And when we're being true to who we are and doing our jobs and running our businesses as our authentic self.
Absolutely. And it's the hardest thing to do. It's the hardest thing for you to step into who you are, blemishes and all, and, tell the world, take me as I am. It is, Brene Brown is someone that I read a lot. When things go bad, I go to YouTube and I just type in Brene Brown, and whatever comes up, she talks about vulnerability. It's a strength, not a weakness. And I truly believe that.
You have built an incredibly successful career. What is your strategy for management, for staying on task to accomplish what you set out to do, as well as motivating those around you?
Hire great people is one, because you can't do it yourself. Because I'm an entrepreneur, you're an entrepreneur. I think that when we're starting out, we're nickel and diamond, right? And we're trying to save money and keep overhead down. When you get to a certain point, you cannot do everything. And so last year, right before the pandemic happened, obviously no one could anticipate that happened. I'd had consultants come in. I'm a person that likes feedback. Then I needed a third party to come in and kind of evaluate where the firm is from the rooter to the tutor, as they say. And I just really loved the feedback. I didn't love it at the time, but I loved the feedback that they gave me about where the firm is and where's the strengths and weaknesses. And they were great at really identifying where I needed to put my focus, which was business development and developing people. And then I needed to hire people to be a part of my management team. Because in my mind, I thought, well, the only people that can be a manager with me or bring on other partners to be a law firm, but that's not necessarily true. So I have Sherilyn Stevenson, who is my business director, and she basically runs the operations of the firm, so that my time is invested where it needs to be. Because while I'm the rainmaker at the firm, I'm also a full-time practicing attorney, trial attorney. So I don't have a lot of time to deal with the HR issues, 401k, and what's going on with their dental plan. And that's not my best use, right? And so being able to understand that you're going to need more people, because you will be more efficient and more effective and make more money if you are focused on what you need to be focused on and you let somebody else be an expert of what they are known to do.
And as a business owner, that can be hard to let go of certain things and to delegate and say, I'm giving you this to run on the behalf of the business.
Absolutely. When Sherilyn came on, and it was around this time last year, there was a lot of butterflies because I did that. And even with our marketing as a firm is very, very unique. Law firms don't market and post on social media like we do. We're more than a law firm. We are the only minority and women-owned law firm in Dallas, Texas, of our size that's doing the type of litigation work that we do. And our tagline is support women, period. Go to our social media pages. We are talking about empowering women, supporting women. I highlight other women law firms, anniversaries. So before, though, everybody loved what we were putting out social media-wise, but I was doing everything. And so
hard.
So I turned it over to Sarah. You've met Sarah, who has been amazing. I thought, I can't hire a marketing firm because they're not going to have my unique voice, because I don't have just the law firm voice. I have athletics, women, minorities, empowerment, diversity. All those things need to weave and flow through our messaging. Sarah got it like that because she used to work in athletic departments in their sports information department. She gets my voice. And so there was a transition where no one knew that I handed the keys over to Sarah just because she communicates like me. But I had to be vulnerable because she is my external face of the firm now, what she puts out there. And at first, she probably was like, why does she have to see every single post before I send it? But now people tell me about how fabulous the posts are. I haven't seen them.
Right. And that's great. And it's great that you have the confidence and within your firm to put out that type of social media. And that's just another way that you're being true to yourself. And that's going to shine through to clients and everyone watching.
We do it in a way that's empowering. We live in such an environment, a cancel culture that I can despise on either side, that no one can make a mistake anymore. Not even in high school, they can't make a mistake. And I want our message to be empowering. When we get a lawsuit, obviously that's not the highest time in someone's life. A small business owner or Fortune 10 company gets sued. that's a dispute. You need to get it resolved. And so I want to empower them to understand that however you define the win, if the win is let's get this settled, or the win is I'm going to the mat on this, I'm going to trial, your messaging has to be empowering for everybody on your team, but also to the client that we're going to get through this. And even when I engage with opposing counsel, I'm not negative or divisive. I think you can be aggressive with someone and be graceful at the same time.
100%. I don't think that's talked about enough.
Yeah, there's this one clip. I watched the show Yellowstone, and I actually posted about this. And there's two strong women characters on opposite sides of something. Beth walks into her office and she's being told that she's fired. And these two women, and it was a minority woman and a white woman, were talking, and they talked with each other with such respect. And then Beth leaves, and the minority woman points at her and she goes, I really like her. Like, we don't have to be ugly. It doesn't have to be ugly and aggressive. It can be aggressive and sharp with grace and strategic. None of those things need to be ugly. None of those things need to be raised voices. Any coach that I ever had, the coach that didn't raise their voice and said, I'm very disappointed, was the one that got you versus the one that was screaming like an idiot.
100%. And I've always believed that you can enter a negotiation and, like you said, be graceful about it, right? And get to at least hopefully somewhere where you meet in the middle, but it doesn't have to be negative.
And it doesn't have to be you're a bad person and I'm a good person. We can be adversarial without being combative. It also comes a little bit from sports, though, that, you can't be on opposite sides anymore and cross over and try to come to an agreement, nor can you walk away and be friends. But I refuse to be that way. I mean, I always engage counsel when we first get a case and, say, I look forward to working to resolve this with you. And that kind of sets the tone. I mean, if you go an opposite way, then I'm going to go an opposite way as well, because I got to do the best thing for my client. But I ultimately believe the best thing for my client is to keep for cooler heads to prevail, to be strategic, and to work as hard to get it resolved as soon as possible. Now, as soon as possible, maybe at trial, but it is what it is, but you don't have to be ugly about it.
Absolutely. You mentioned going through management changes during COVID. Have any successes come out of COVID for you and your firm? We've
grown. Last quarter, we were at the end of the quarter, and what I do at the firm is I bonus my entire team on the quarter, because I just don't like year-end bonuses because you got to wait so long. So I kind of like Christmas 4 times a year. So we were at the end of the quarter, and Sarah sent me a firm directory. And I'm like, why do we need a firm directory? And then she's like, because we got 21 people. I'm like, what? We've grown.
Good for you. That's so great.
21 people. And I'm like, well, you're going to need to put some pictures in there. We've grown. We're fortunate that it didn't feel like we were fortunate, but around this time last year, Collin County, which is a suburb of Dallas, selected one of our cases to be the case for the summary jury trial, which none of this we knew at the time, was an experiment on can we try cases virtually. But this again goes back to putting your head down, and we just worked really hard and had an amazing experience being the trial team that did the first voir dire over Zoom, and it wasn't anything binding, but it was just an experiment. We did not know this until the morning of. It was live streamed over YouTube. It's still there. And so that experience really catapulted me and the 2 other women that I work with to putting together a virtual proceedings playbook that we kind of talk about how to show up at your best during anything that's virtual from a legal perspective. Hearings, arbitrations, mediation, and appellate issues. And we kind of created this whole playbook around that. So while it's been a obviously tumultuous and challenging year, again, I think it's that student athlete in me. You want to make those into opportunities, which we have.
Good for you. And how amazing to be on the forefront. And it'll be interesting to see where it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like we're going to end up going back to court, but I think there's always going to be space now that we know we can do it for depositions that are done virtually, mediations done virtually, arbitrations that can be done virtually. Everything doesn't need to be done in person anymore. Some things do. Some cases you need to be able to be in a courtroom and to see things and credibility and all those things. It's here to stay in a certain respect.
Magic happens when we focus on the part of ourselves and our business that brings us joy. What is one tip that you can leave with us today about how you find and live your joy?
One thing about being a coach and wanting people to improve is I have this saying to everybody, and you can be 26-year-old just getting out of law school, or you may be 50-some-year-old and of counsel with me, and I have the same question: what do you want to do when you grow up? Because remember when you were a kid, you were asked that, and every time someone asked you, you said something different. I want to be a fireman. I want to be a policeman. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a nurse. At some point, people said we had to stop growing up and stop dreaming. And so I ask that all the time. Just brought on a new senior associate. We went to breakfast and I said, all right, what do you want to do when you grow up? Because I can't help you unless I know what that is. And just like a kid, it may change. But right now, what do you want to do when you grow up? And that brings me joy to hear, or talked about Keisha earlier. Keisha says, I want to be an appellate attorney. So as soon as an opportunity for her to draft an appellate brief came up, I gave it to her. And that's what brings me joy. It's like understanding what people want. And when you see it happening, you grab that opportunity for them and say, you roll the ball out there. Here you go.
So brilliant. And it's so wonderful that you cultivate people in the way that you do, and that you also understand that we never stop changing and growing, and we never stop having those passions, and it changes over time. And that's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, we have a saying, fail fast, get up, and go. And you cannot tell people to try something new if you're not going to give them the grace to make a mistake. And so baked in that is, I know that I'm asking you to do something you've never done before. And just if I ask you to run hurdles, I expect that you're going to trip over one of them. May not trip over all, but you're going to trip over some of them. But you fail fast, you fall, get up, because during that get up moment, you can't forget that part. You got to dust yourself off. You got to figure out what happened. You got to learn, but then you got to go. And so with my people, I think it takes them some time working with me to understand that I mean that. I expect you to fail because you can't get success without failure. But, with lawyers sometimes and other type A type of jobs, they're not used to failing, nor someone telling them that it's okay to fail. But you can't grow and you can't figure out what you want to do until you're giving that area of grace to fail fast, to get up, and then go.
So great. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today and for being with us on the show. Can you please share with us how and where we can find you?
You can find us on stewartlawgroup.com is our website. We give back to the community a lot. We have our newsletters that gives you kind of a idea of who we are. You can see all my wonderful folks I work with. LinkedIn, just find Amy Wallace Stewart, Stewart Law Group.
If you are new to She Built It, we'd love for you to join us. We offer community memberships, masterminds, innovative virtual events, and meaningful connections to entrepreneurs and corporate leaders. Please also check out our She Built It shop, curated products from women-owned businesses who put their heart and soul into their beautiful and innovative products. We offer She Built It business consulting and the She Built It blog. Thank you to everyone around the world who joined today. Thank you to my editor, Rich Streffolino. Please download and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And until next time, together, let's let nothing stop us from experiencing the life that we crave.